Welcome to Barca News. It is September 26, 2025, and I have bad news because injuries continue to pile up at Barcelona. We're going to talk about them, and we're also going to talk about what solutions can Hansi Flick have. Also, I do have an update in regards to Lamine Yamal, and finally, a new goal has been set for the return to the Camp Nou. We have a lot to discuss. So let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Mo. This is the Barca News live podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where not only we discuss Barcelona news, but where I also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments, answering your questions, and getting a discussion going. For those of you who will be watching when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description, chapters in the timeline, in case you do want to skip through the discussion and get straight into the news. Having said all that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. All this helps this channel continue to grow. If you're looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure to Goal Kits, Kit Bag, or Fanatics. And if you are looking to place any sports bets, make sure to bet us. All links are down below description. Wait, did I say all that? If you click on them, you get access to some pretty cool deals and offers. All right, let's begin with the news. And as always, the first segment of news is comprised of multiple bits of news combined together for the sake of brevity, is starting with the sad news that Sergio Busquets, Boozy, the best number 5 in the history of Barcelona and one of the best number 5s in the history of football, has announced his retirement. He will be retiring at the end of this season in the MLS. As you know, Sergio Busquets currently plays at Inter Miami alongside Lionel Messi. What a sad news. And it just goes to show that we are, approaching the end of what was a golden era, not just in the history of Barcelona, but in football, period. I mean, we saw Xavi retire, we saw Iniesta retire, we saw Piqué retired, and now Busquets. Really, really sad news. Now, Busquets built, of course, one hell of a legacy at Barcelona, where he spent 15 years, during which he played 722 matches, and during which he won 32 titles, including 9 La Liga matches, 3 Champions League, 7 Copas del Rey, 3 Club World Cups, 3 UEFA Super Cups, and 7 Spanish Super Cups. And to show you how important he was, of course, for Barcelona, he started in 647 matches out of the 722 that he played at Barcelona, and during which he scored 18 goals. But of course, that wasn't really his specialty. His specialty was to absolutely wow us and make us fall in love with his play when he had the ball at his feet, because with the simplest move, with the most basic movement, Busquets was always able to completely get rid of whoever was marking him, of clearing and opening space, and then don't even mention his passes, because my God, what a pivot. One of the best in the history of football, and again, the best in the history of Barcelona. So definitely sad news, but nonetheless, we thank Sergio Busquets for all the amazing memories, all the beautiful years, all the out-of-this-world football that he gave us during his very long tenure at Barcelona. Now, from sad news, we move on to good news, because, ladies and gentlemen, Lamine Yamal is back. Lamine Yamal is back today. He trained with the group with total normalcy, which means that he has recovered from that back injury that he suffered right before the international break. Of course, he left the international break with some pain in his back. Barcelona communicated that to the Spanish national team, but of course, they gave 0 Fs. They played him in both matches. In fact, he didn't even train in between matches because he was in so much pain he couldn't even get out of bed. And what did they do? They shot him up with some painkillers, They injected him with some painkillers and sent him to play the second match. And then, of course, returned him to Barcelona more injured than he had left because he had played 2 matches. And as a result, Lamine Yamal has not played a single match since returning from the FIFA international break. But the good news is that today he trained with total normalcy with the group, which means he could be available for this weekend's match against Real Sociedad. And since he's available, maybe he can get some minutes against Real Sociedad. Not, of course, as a starter, but maybe start on the bench, play the last 10, 15 minutes. And that way he could potentially be ready to start against PSG. And, of course, this good news comes alongside the other good news that I told you the past 2 days is that Alejandro Balde has also started training with total normalcy. In fact, you see him in the picture here right next to Lamine Yamal. Of course, Alejandro Balde today completed his 3rd group training with total normalcy, so Balde could also be available for tomorrow's match. He could have been available for the match against Real Oviedo, but Flick did not want to risk it. So Balde could also get some minutes tomorrow. No, sorry, not tomorrow. Sunday against Real Sociedad. And with that, Lamine and Balde, if they both get minutes against Real Sociedad, could be, be able to start against PSG, which, of course, is next week. Now, speaking of Lamine Yamal. Oh, by the way, Lamine Yamal posted this today on his story saying, hey, I'm back. Of course, announcing that he's back from injury. Now, the club has not made an official announcement, but I guess we get the official announcement from Lamine Yamal himself. Now, speaking of Lamine Yamal, the Ballon d'Or scores have been released. And I gotta say, they're a little bit surprising. Now, as we know, Lamine Yamal did not win the Ballon d'Or. Ousmane Dembélé did. But this was the breakdown of points. Ousmane Dembélé won the Ballon d'Or with 1,380 points. And Lamine Yamal ended up second with 1,059 points. And this is the part where I say it was a little bit surprising, because it seemed like it was going to be a lot closer, but Dembélé ended up winning with a difference of, 200 plus points. In third place, Vitinha with 703. Then Mo Salah with 657. Coutinho, 620. Ashraf Hakimi, 484. Mbappe, apparently scoring penalties, gets you 378 points. And Cole Palmer, 211. Donnarumma, 172 points. And Nuno Mendes, 171 points. And here comes the other surprise, the really, really, really big one. Because remember where Pedri ended up? He ended up 11th. And I said, in what world? In what sane, reasonable, rational world is Nuno Mendes better than Pedri? And this question becomes more relevant when you notice that Nuno Mendes only got 171 points, which means Pedri got even less than that. Who is voting for this? Tell me, because these people should, I don't know, turn on a TV every once in a while, maybe watch some football. Because you tell me Pedri really deserved less than 171 points? Again, I have no idea what the criteria is here. I don't think there's any, or maybe if there is an official criteria, I don't think any of these morons are following it, because seriously, less than 171 points for the best midfielder in the world. And again, Nuno freaking Mendes. Better than Pedri. How? I still don't know. But anyways, let's do the comment section, and then we are going to talk about Barcelona's injuries, because they continue to pile up. And it's not looking good. But it's not looking terrible either. And I'll tell you why. Lalo says, playing Ultimate Team and waiting for some injury news. I wish it wasn't injury news. I wish I was here to tell you that Barcelona just won the Champions League. But instead, I got to give you the bad news. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. McCoy says, injuries coming thick and fast. I just hope no one else goes down. Amen, my friend. Amen. Blacka20 says, Mo in the house. Good to see you, bro. Good to see you. Good to see all of you who are currently watching. Of course, who will be watching later. Even though I won't really be seeing you later, because it's once it ends. But you get the sentiment. Ace Lionel says, PSG has some injuries of their own. Yes, they do. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And Lifehood says, Mo, I hope you can stream the Atletico Madrid versus Real Madrid game. That's actually, you know what? That's a good suggestion. I think I will do that. Let me see. Let me see what time it is. Real Madrid matches. Let me see. Okay, they play tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. You know what? Actually, I am gonna do it. I'm gonna do a watch along because it is an important game. Now, of course, I cannot actually stream the match if that's what you're asking. I can't show the match on my channel. I know because some people have asked me that before during the streams. It's like, hey, can you show the match? And I'm like, no, I can't. Copyright. If I show it, my whole channel gets shut down. So I can't actually show the match, but I think it'd be a good idea to do a watch along for the Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid match. I mean, it is a very important match. We're talking about the two clubs competing. Well, maybe not Atletico Madrid this season because I think they're all the way down in ninth or something. But two very important match. Two out of the three biggest clubs in Spain. I think that would be a good match watch along that's not Barca related. And of course, I will be doing the watch along against Real Sociedad. Alexandra says, no, Alex Narnia, not Alexandra. Alex Narnia says, Xabi Alonso thinks he can dethrone Flick, unstoppable Barca. Flick is a sextuple manager, and Xabi isn't, so Flick does have the edge over Xabi Alonso. Look, I don't know if Xabi Alonso has the edge or not, but from what I've seen from Madrid so far, I am not convinced whatsoever. I think they look maybe a little bit better than last season, but they still look pretty dreadful. Where they just depend on Mbappe and on bad refereeing calls. But of course, we'll have to wait and see until a Clasico match. And Uzi Blaz says, "Hey Mo, I accidentally left the Discord chat and your link no longer works. Don't worry, my friend. I will update the link today. As soon as we end the podcast, I will be putting a post in the community tab for the Discord link so you can rejoin, and if there are any new members, you can also join the podcast. All right, let's get back to the news and let's talk about, well, bad news because, ladies and gentlemen, the injuries continue to pile up at Barcelona, with today Barcelona announcing a big one, which is to Joan Garcia, because today Barcelona officially announced through their social media accounts the following. The player, Joan Garcia, suffers a tear of the internal meniscus in the left knee. Tomorrow, he will undergo arthroscopy surgery performed by Dr. Jean Carlos Monyao. The approximate time out is 4 to 6 weeks, depending on his progress. So this is definitely bad news because Joan Garcia, not only is he injured, he has torn his meniscus. He's going to have to undergo arthroscopic surgery, and he will be out for 4 to 6 weeks. And of course, this is bad news because, well, he is the starting goalkeeper. Now, taking into account that he's going to be out 4 to 5, 6 weeks, let's look at what matches Joan Garcia is set to miss because, well, there's going to be some pretty important ones. Now, here's the schedule of Barcelona. I'm going to share my screen with you. Let's look at right here. So, of course, he's going to miss. Actually, I'm going to do even one better. We're going to go to a date calculator, and we're going to do tomorrow's date. We're going to use, and just so you can guys see what am I doing here. Let me see. How do you do this? Let's see. Okay. I don't know what is happening. Anyways. Okay. So let's look at the schedule. We have, of course, Real Sociedad versus Barcelona versus Real Sociedad. He's going to miss that match. Barcelona versus PSG. That's a big one. Sevilla versus Barcelona. Maybe not a big deal. Sevilla, well, they are in pretty bad shape. Barcelona versus Girona. Same thing. Not a big deal. Barcelona versus Olympiacos. Of course, a little bit of a big deal because it is Champions League. But on the other hand, it is Olympiacos. So, And then Real Madrid versus Barcelona if he's out for 4 weeks. And this is, of course, a big one, being that it is El Clasico match. Now, if he's out for 6 weeks, we would add to it Barcelona versus Elche. Not a big deal. Club Brugge versus Barcelona. A little bit of a big deal because it's Champions League. But nonetheless, it is Club Brugge. In other words, who cares? Celta Vigo versus Barcelona. This is always a complicated match for Barcelona. Celta Vigo always makes things difficult for us. So that could be, an important one. And after that, we do have another fucking international break. We had one in August. No, September. We're going to have one in October. And then we're going to have another one in November. You want to talk about injuries? Here's your fucking reason why. But anyways. So, some pretty important matches that Joan Garcia is going to miss. PSG, of course, really big one. El Clásico. And then potentially the ones against Celta Vigo. That could be a little bit difficult. Not because Celta Vigo is this amazing team, but it's a team that always complicates things for Barcelona. So definitely a big loss for Barcelona. But nonetheless, of course, we do have alternatives. Because, of course, we do have Wojciech Szczesny, who was the definitive starting goalkeeper for Barcelona last season. Now, so far from what I've seen from Joan Garcia, he does give me more confidence than Wojciech Szczesny. But that doesn't mean that Wojciech Szczesny is not going to be able to do the job. As we saw last season, he's more than capable of doing the job. So yes, Joan Garcia is better. I would feel a lot more confident. Joan Garcia was the goalkeeper during those big matches. But nonetheless, we've seen that Wojciech Szczesny can do the job. So it's got to be, once again, Wojciech Szczesny to the rescue. Coming out of retirement to become Barcelona's goalkeeper when Ter Stegen got injured. And now, once again, to Barcelona's rescue as Joan Garcia now goes down to injuries. Now, given that both Joan Garcia and Ter Stegen are injured and Wojciech Szczesny will become the number one goalkeeper, of course, the question is, who's going to be the second goalkeeper right behind Szczesny? Because as you know, Diego Cochen left Barcelona to join the U.S. national team because right now the Under-20 World Cup is about to start in Chile. And the news is that Barcelona have actually recalled him. So they have recalled Diego Cochen, who has now returned to Barcelona to be the second goalkeeper, to be the substitute of Diego Cochen. Why? Because, if Cochen does end up playing the World Cup, which is a month long, assuming that the U.S. goes all the way, I doubt it. But if, God forbid, something happened to Szczesny, he gets injured, or he has a fever, or he has diarrhea, and he cannot play, the other alternative would be Eder Aller, the Juvenil goalkeeper. So as a result, Barcelona have recalled Diego Cochen. So for the next 4 to 6 weeks, it's going to be Tech as our starting goalkeeper with Diego Cochen as his backup. So definitely big bad news. Definitely big hit for Barcelona. But nonetheless, not the end of the world because, of course, we do have Tech. And Tech has shown us that he's more than capable of being Barcelona's starting goalkeeper. Not as good as Joan, but still good enough to be the goalkeeper in both La Liga and the Champions League. And Cochen will have to be his backup. Now, the other silver lining, besides Tech being the goalkeeper now, is that Joan Garcia, despite tearing his meniscus, despite having to undergo surgery, he's only going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. In the great scheme of things, that's actually not long. That's much better than, for example, Ter Stegen's injury. He's going to be out for 5 to 6 months. Gabi's injury last season, when he was out for almost a year. Bernal, when he was out for a year. So a silver lining, 4 to 6 weeks in the great scheme of things is not that long. And again, we do have Wojciech Szczesny. All right, let's get back to the comment section, and then we are going to talk about the other injury that Barcelona have announced today. And of course, we're also going to talk about alternatives on what Barcelona can do as far as their lineup because, injuries continue to pile up. All right, let's see. Evans says it's bad for Joan and Raphinha. I hope it will not affect us against PSG. And Innocent says, hi Mo, I'm you from Nigeria. I really wish we could get a good replacement for Balde because whenever Martin plays, the difference is clear. I think besides the match against Oviedo, I think Gerard Martin has been a great substitute for Balde. Obviously, he is no Balde, but he's given us really good performances against Newcastle, against Getafe. I don't know. I'm happy with what I've seen with Gerard Martin. He did get cooked against Real Oviedo, but the other two matches, I think he did really well. Flick is very happy with him. Now, of course, he does lack that attacking flair because he's defensive. He's a left back more than a full back. But we do have Joffre Torrens. Joffre Torrens is someone that Hans Flick believes can compete with Balde, someone that can both defend and attack. But of course, Joffre Torrens is going to need some time, to adapt to the first team. So do we need to sign someone? No. We have 3 left backs. I think Gerard Martin can continue to be the substitute as Joffre Torrens continues to develop, and eventually it's going to be Balde and Joffre Torrens fighting for the left back position. Let's see. Pedri, what are you doing here, bro? You gotta be, you're supposed to be sleeping, man. It's pretty late in Spain. Tomorrow you have to train. Sunday you have the match. Come on, man. This is very responsible of you, Pedri. I'm very disappointed. But Pedri says, yo, Mo, considering our financial situation, who would be your choice for the striker position? Or would you go big considering Laporta would want to make a statement signing? I would not go big. Not because we don't need it, or not because it's, it's, well, just that, I guess. Not because we don't need it, but because we don't have the money and we don't have the financial fair play. And the last thing you want to do is mess up your finances, right? The club, the board, the president, everybody at the club has been working really hard to try to get the club out of the financial hole that they're in. We've come a long way. We're still not there yet or being close to being there yet. So the last thing you want to do is then derail a lot of that progress by going out there and spending a crazy amount on a striker. So would it be better to have a big name striker that can guarantee you goals and can bring you marketing and blah, 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 everything that Laporta wants? Yes, absolutely. But if you can't afford it, you cannot afford it. So you have to go for someone that's more affordable and trust that Flick will be able to get the best out of him. And that, given how the team is playing, that center forward will be able to succeed, right? Look at what Flick has done with players with much less capabilities than, the big name, the big brands in football. Look what Ferran is doing. I mean, I would consider him a mid player. He's nowhere near the top or being great, but yet he's putting out numbers as if he was, right? Look what Flick has done with Raphinha. Has become Coutinho. Look what Flick has done with Gerard Martin. I mean, when he started the season last season, the guy looked like he belonged not even in professional football. He looked like an amateur. And now he's like putting out great performances against Newcastle. So I think you got to give him someone what Flick asks for. Someone, right now they're saying Flick wants, I can never say his name. Girassi. Which, might not be a top name, but someone that has been putting out big numbers and that could be affordable. And I'm sure under Flick is going to be a goal-scoring machine. He already scored 38 goals last season. I'm sure under Flick he'll be able to score even more. So do we need to go and make a big spending given a situation? No, this is not the time to do it because, we don't have money. We already seen what happens when you spend beyond your means. We saw it under Bartomeu. It nearly bankrupted the club. We've seen it under Laporta. Right, he went and signed Olmo when we didn't have the money to sign him. We had to sell club's assets to register him, seats for 100 mil, and we still can't use those fucking seats. So it's like, and that was just 60 mil, right? So can you imagine if we go and try to sign, 120, 150 for someone like Julian? There goes all the work that's been done all these years, and we're back to square one. So no. The answer is no. Let's do one more comment, and then we are going to talk about the next injury. But Manta Mantis says, Mo, do you think we can, I'm guessing you meant beat PSG, the former Champions League champions? I think so. I think it could go either way. I think both PSG and Barcelona, two incredibly great teams with two incredibly talented players. That both teams that play very similar styles. They both play offensive, pragmatic football. I think we can. Do I think PSG can beat us? Also, I think this is one of those matches that could go either way, and there's not like a clear winner. But can we beat them? Yes. Now, if you told me 2 seasons ago can we beat PSG, I'd be like, hell no. Obviously, every match could go either way, but there's always like a bigger chance of going a certain way. Like right against Real Oviedo, was there a chance for Real Oviedo to beat us? Sure, it could always go either way. But obviously, it's a lot more inclined towards Barcelona, right? If it was a balance, it would be like this, right? Much bigger chance of Barcelona winning. Real Oviedo could still win, but a much bigger chance. With PSG, it's like this. It's like literally anybody can win. So can we beat them? Yes. Can they beat us? Yes. But either way, I think it's gonna be one hell of a match. I mean, to me, Barcelona and PSG are the two best teams in all of Europe. So I think it will be one hell of a showdown. So yeah, can we beat them? Absolutely. Let's get back to the news because we do have to talk, of course, about the second injury that Barcelona announced today. And of course, it's no other than Coutinho, our captain. Because yesterday, was it yesterday? Yes, yesterday. These midweek matches have me all like confused on what day it is and what date it is. But yesterday we saw Raphinha getting subbed out against Real Oviedo, and the TV camera panned on him real quickly, and we saw him on the seat. Not usually, we've seen Raphinha sometimes get mad when he gets subbed, but this time it wasn't really a face of anger that he had been subbed, but instead a face of that he looked worried. Not just that, but we saw, of course, the medic that you can see in this picture here putting ice on Raphinha's leg. And of course, that left a big question. Hey, did Raphinha just get injured? Did he get subbed because he's just feeling a little bit of a knock and then out of precaution they're taking him out? Or maybe it's nothing and he's just putting the ice because, well, sometimes you need the ice after a match. Well, it turns out that it was the worst case scenario because Raphinha is injured. Barcelona have made the official announcement with a post on their social media account stating player Coutinho has an injury in the middle third of the bicep femoris of the right thigh. The approximate time out is about 3 weeks. So Coutinho is also injured. Also a big loss for Barcelona. Of course, I think Joan Garcia is a little bit bigger because he's the goalkeeper. But nonetheless, Raphinha is still a big one because he's, given the amazing season he had last season. Even now, the beginning of this season, of course, it is a big loss. But the good news, of course, it's only 3 weeks. It's not as bad as, let's say, Joan Garcia, 4 to 6. But he will be missing, of course, important matches, including this weekend, of course, Real Sociedad. And, of course, the big one, PSG. And then against Sevilla. The good news is that then we have the FIFA International. Well, it's not really good news because I hate the FIFA International breaks. But the good silver lining, I guess, that there are 2 weeks of FIFA International break. So maybe, hopefully, we could see Coutinho maybe come back by Girona or Olympiacos and get some minutes there. And hopefully he will be available for Real Madrid. Now, if it is 3 weeks, he should be available by Real Madrid for sure, because that's a whole month from today. So that's, more than 3 weeks. That's 4.5 weeks. So hopefully he'll be back. Maybe he'll be back by Girona. He can get some minutes against Girona. He can play against Olympiacos. And then, he'll be 100% ready for El Clásico. So as far as Raphinha, it looks like the only big match he will be missing is the one against PSG, which, of course, is still a pretty big match. So bad news there. But this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to look at Barcelona's options now that Raphinha has joined the long list of injured players, including Gavi, who's going to be out for 5 months, Fermin Lopez, 3 weeks. But now I think we've already gone through a week, so 2 weeks left on Fermin Lopez. Of course, Juan Garcia, 4 to 5 weeks. Balde, thankfully, is back. Lamine Yamal, thankfully, is back. But let's look at what could be Barcelona's options now that Raphinha and Joan Garcia are out. All right, let me see. Let me see if I could... this is how. Yeah, let's go. Now I figure it out on how to change it. All right. So let's look at how what Flick's options are with these new injuries. Of course, we're going to do the 4-2-3-1. Now, in goal, obviously, is going to be Wojciech Szczęsny with Diego Kochen being his backup. Luckily, we're fine on the right back. We have both Jules Koundé and Eric Garcia who can play in this position, so no problem there. Our two center backs, it could be Araujo and Cubarsí. It could also be Christensen and Cubarsí. It could be Eric Garcia and Cubarsí. No problems there. We're fully covered. Balde is officially back. 3 trainings already with total normalcy with the group. He should be in the squad tomorrow. So we'll put Balde here with, of course, Gerard Martin and even Jofre Torrens being the substitutes. So here we are fully covered in the defensive line. Now, here, of course, Pedri, hopefully he will stay healthy. He was able to stay healthy the entire season. We're good there. Frankie, he's back from injury. So we're good there too. And of course, we do have Casado and Bernal who can step in for both Pedri and Frankie de Jong. So even though we do have Gabi injured, the double pivot is covered. Now, we come to the right wing where thankfully, right on time, Lamine Yamal is back. So he'll be able to take his position with, of course, Rooney Bardghji being the substitute. On the left, Coutinho, he's injured. So we could have Marcus Rashford play there. But of course, that leaves Marcus Rashford without a substitute. Because usually it was Coutinho, Rashford the substitute. Coutinho's gone. Now Rashford is the starter. Fermin sometimes can play there, but Fermin is injured. So Rashford's going to be getting more minutes. So this is going to be his chance to shine. And as far as substitute for him, Ferran can technically play there. But of course, as we've seen, Ferran doesn't really do that well on the left. But he can play there. Now, Rooney Bardghji could technically also play on the left. But Rooney is better in the right. So we do have some options, not optimal options. But we do have some options to substitute Rashford in case we need to. In case we need to rest him or whichever. And of course, on the right, again, it's Lamine, Bardghji, and even Ferran can play there. Now, here's the problem. The attacking midfield. Because the attacking midfield, we have Olmo. But the other attacking midfielder, Fermin, is injured. And as we know, Olmo, the guy farts and somehow gets injured. He sneezes, gets injured again. Coughs, forget about it. He needs a surgery. So let's hope that Olmo can hang on for the next 2 weeks. Because in 2 weeks, Fermin Lopez should be back. And then the two of them can cover that position. And then, of course, up front, we do have Lewandowski and Ferran Torres. They can both cover that position. Now, the question becomes, of course, let's say against Real Sociedad, Lamine Yamal is not going to be available to start, even though he is healthy. So, what can Flick do? Of course, we could always do Ferran Torres on the right, Rashford on the left, with Lewy starting. And then, towards the end of the match, take out Lewy, move Ferran here, and then bring in Lamine. Right? Because Lewy, we need him fresh. We cannot play him 90 minutes of every single match. But once Lamine is fully back, we can have Lamine here. And, of course, we can have Ferran here. And then Lewandowski and Ferran alternating. One match, Ferran starts. Then Lewy comes off the last 30 minutes. The next match, Lewy can start. Ferran come in the last 30 minutes. So we have options. We have options. The only 2 positions that worry me a little bit is, of course, Olmo's position because Fermin is injured. And the left wing position, because even though we do have alternatives like Ferran, like Rooney, they're not the ideal alternatives to substitute Rashford. So, do these injuries suck? Absolutely. Is it the end of the world? Far, far from it, because thankfully we have a pretty deep bench where we have not only alternatives, but really good alternatives that can, of course, step up and do the job. So, it sucks, but not the end of the world. And again, the silver lining, they're not that long, the injuries, right? 3 weeks for Raphinha. It's going to be 3 long weeks. But nonetheless, it's only 3 weeks. And who knows? It might end up being shorter. All right, let's get back to the comment section. And then we'll talk about this Camp Nou. at this point, I'm tired of talking about the Camp Nou. Remember, in the summer, every day was Luis Diaz this, Luis Diaz that. And I was like, guys, I'm so sick and tired of talking about Luis Diaz. But I got to talk about him because, of course, that's what the news is. And I got to bring you the news. I feel like that's me in the Camp Nou now. But at least with the Camp Nou, of course, it is our stadium. It is our home. We want to get back. We want to go back. I'm very excited to go back. As far as Luis Diaz, I was really excited to sign him. Not because he's a bad player. He's a great player. But the money that Liverpool were asking for was absolutely ridiculous. I think Barcelona dodged the bullet by not paying. Abdullah says, hi Mo, I'm Abdul from Nigeria. Any update on Joan Garcia's exit timeout? 4 to 6 weeks. John Williams says, hey Mo, I really hate the way our players get injured so easily. They're not getting injured so easily. It's every team has injuries. PSG, they're going to be out Dembele, they're going to be out Doué, they're going to be out Marquinhos, and they're going to be out Neves. It's not that our players get injured easily. It's part of the sport. These players are performing at an incredibly high rate. The human body was not meant to perform at that rate. So, of course, injuries are going to happen. You can, of course, take care of yourself. The more you take care of yourselves, the more you can avoid injuries and recover from them faster, but you cannot avoid them. It's just part of the match. There's nothing special. This was kind of like the same thing when under Xavi, people are like, oh, look at all these injuries. It's Xavi, it's the staff. And I was like, guys, what are you talking about? Every fucking team has injuries. Like, this is part of the game. Saying that, having injuries is no different than, I don't know, having a basketball game with flopping, right? It's just, they go together. But yeah, it's just part of the sport. You can't avoid it. Impossible. Yomidara says, which is the biggest downgrade? Ballon to Martin, Lamine to Rooney, or FDJ to Casado? FDJ to Casado is not a downgrade. Not even close. It's not an upgrade. It's the same. They're two different players with two different profiles. We see what Casado can offer. So it's just two different players for different situations. It's no way it's a downgrade. Lamine to Rooney or Ballon to Martin? Both obviously downgrades. Lamine to Rooney because it's Lamine. Doesn't matter who even if it's Raphinha stepping in for Lamine, it's still a downgrade because it's Lamine. He's the best in the world. And then Ballon to Martin. I'll probably say right now, Lamine to Rooney because Rooney is still getting adapted. He's still adapted to the team. He's still learning how to play with his teammates, how to play under Flick, how to play first division football in La Liga, because yes, he played first division in Sweden, but that's not the same. Completely different level. That's like going from second to first division. So for now, I would say Rooney. But if Rooney ends up living up to his potential, then obviously it would be Balde versus Balde to Martin. But De Jong to Casado is not a downgrade, not even close. Umaro says, hi Mo, you're a great analyzer. Keep it up. AJ Conte from Sierra Leone, West Africa. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for watching and for your comment. Hey, my man, Hart. What's up, Hart? Says, up, Mo, where do you prefer Coutinho, left wing or right wing? Seems like he's struggling with Flip, put him back in his original position while Shine's on left wing and needs Lamine to feed him the ball. I prefer him on the left because that's, the first 2 seasons he played on the right. Last season, he played on the left. And last season, he performed better than his first 2 seasons combined. And by far, not even close. This season, he's done a good job in the right wing. But yeah, I think left wing is where he shines. Let's see. Savio T says, I'm confident that we will go through this injury spell. But really, I hope it's not happening often as the team can only carry so much weight while the injury important players are gone. Like I said, right now, we're not in an impossible position. Are we in a tough position? Sure. Joan Garcia, Raphinha, those are 2 big losses. But we're not in an impossible position because as we looked right now at the lineup, we do have players that can substitute him. Now, if God forbid we get more injuries, that's when we start to get into trouble because let's say, God forbid, Rashford gets injured. Now you're really in trouble. Because now Coutinho and Rashford gone, who's going to play in the left? Ferran, that's not really his strong suit. And if he does play there, that means Lewandowski's going to have to start as a center forward. And that's great. Lewandowski's a killer. But we want to be able to, rotate Lewandowski as much as possible. So if more injuries pile up, that's when we start to get in trouble. Right now, we're not in trouble. Again, these injuries suck, absolutely, but we're not in trouble. And Jason says, Mo, I just ordered my Kobe away Yamal and third kit Gotinha. All right, let's go. That's pretty awesome. I hope you get it soon. I have, of course, my Kobe one. I love it. I haven't seen the third one in person yet, but I don't hate it. I only hate the home kit, which sucks because it's our home kit. But I think Nike's been just doing a terrible job with the home kits. Mez says, Yamal and Rashford playing wings. Yes, they are. And then Edward says, hi, Mo, do you think Hansi will start Balde or Lamine or bleed them in coming off the bench? I don't think they're going to start. Maybe actually, Balde might have a higher chance of starting ahead of Lamine because Balde's been training with the group longer, right? Today was his third session. If tomorrow they train, that will be fourth. So 4 sessions ahead of Real Sociedad versus Lamine. He only trained today with the group and tomorrow. So that will be 2. So Balde has a higher chance of starting, but I have a feeling that none will start. I think both will come on off the bench in order to get them ready for PSG with probably Ferran starting in the place of Lamine on the right, Lewy as a center forward, and maybe then we can take off Lewy, move Ferran to the center forward, and bring in Lamine, and then, of course, take off Gerard Martin and bring in Balde. That's my sensation, of course. With Flick, you never know, so we're going to have to wait and see. But let's see. Zeke says maybe Dro's opportunity to come in for Olmo to get some rest, especially if we are winning. Yeah, that's true. You know, when one door closes, another one opens. Maybe not for the same person, but for another. You know, with Fermin now injured, it could be Olmo the starter, and then bring in Dro. You know, if you can put the game away early on, bring in Dro and start getting them more and more minutes. Right? This is the thing about injuries. They present opportunities to other players. Right? Dro has a chance now to shine and get some minutes. We can see, Rooney Bardarji. He might be able to get more minutes with Gotinha out. Maybe Cochen in the Copa del Rey, even though I doubt it. I think it's going to be Tech, just a goalkeeper for all throughout. Well, actually, I'm talking nonsense. When Copa del Rey starts, Joan Garcia will be back. So I guess not him. But if God forbid something happened to Tech, technically it could be a chance for Cochen, but hopefully not, because I'm sure Cochen has plenty of potential, but this is not the time to be starting him. But Rooney Bardarji, Dro, I think this presents chances for them to get more minutes. All right, let's do the last bit of news, and then we'll do more comments, I promise. But let's do one last bit of news. This one will be quick, but it is an update in regards to the Camp Nou, which, by the way, is looking beautiful on the inside. Obviously, the outside is a whole other story because the facade's still being constructed, the third ring's still being constructed. But on the inside, look at these pictures. I mean, they look absolutely amazing. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about a new goal, a new expected return to the Camp Nou. Because as you know, Barcelona were hoping to return this weekend against Real Sociedad because they had submitted the certificate of completion to the city saying, hey, we're done, come inspect us. The city did. And both the police department and the fire department said no. They found that the emergency evacuation routes were not up to code. So then the city denied the permit and they gave Barcelona a new list saying, hey, you need to fix these things. The city said that the list is much shorter than the one before. So these fixes should take less time than the ones before. So, of course, now the return to Real Sociedad is not possible. Real Sociedad will be played at Montjuic. The match against PSG will be played at Montjuic. That was always the plan. Even if we return to the Camp Nou this weekend, we would have still had to play against PSG at Montjuic because of the capacity issues and UEFA's rules. Then we have Sevilla. That one is an away match at the Sanchez Pizjuan. So comes the next match, which is Girona on October 18th, which will be the first match after the second. Yes, you heard that right. The second. And we wonder why we have injuries. The second international break, and the season just started. So that's the new goal for Barcelona to return to the Camp Nou, October 18th against Girona. This seems a little bit more realistic because, it's like, 3.5 weeks away. And if the city which I trust the city because they have no reason to lie to us. Laporta has plenty of reasons just to get us excited and to keep, dangling the carrot. But the city has said the fixes that Barcelona need to do it's a lot less than before. So it's doable. But as you know, my new rule is see it to believe it. When it comes to the Camp Nou, they can give me a million deadlines until it actually happens, until I actually turn on my TV and see the players on the Camp Nou's pitch playing. That's when I'm going to come here and be like, hey, guys, we back at the Camp Nou. Otherwise, I'm not holding my breath. But that's the new goal now, October 18th against Girona. All right, that's all the news for the podcast. Let's do comments. That's actually not French for comments, but I just made it up. And then, of course, we'll end this. But where did we leave off? Hart says, I want to see Dro start versus Real Sociedad. I don't think he would start, but he could get minutes. I don't think Dro is there yet to start. It's his first season in First Division. Last season, he wasn't even at Barca Athletic. He was at Juvenil A. So that's a big, big, big jump. And to have him start, I mean, that's huge, right? Can he get some minutes? Sure. If Barcelona put the match away early on, maybe he could get some minutes towards the end. But to start, no, we're far, far from that. Zeke says maybe Dro. Oh, wait. I think I had read that already. Eddie says, what about Daniel Rodriguez as an option on the wings? It could be. We could see maybe the news that Raphinha got injured came out today. So we could see Flick call up Daniel Rodriguez during practice. And if he does, he could always be a good option, right? After all, Flick did give Daniel Rodriguez his debut last season with Barcelona. It was unfortunate that Daniel Rodriguez ended up injuring his shoulder on the debut, ended up missing the preseason and the preseason tour. So, yeah, Daniel Rodriguez could be very much an option, a good option, And who knows, maybe this could be Daniel Rodriguez's second chance, right? Because Flick really wanted to see him in the preseason to see what, if he has what it takes. But again, that injury got in the way. So maybe this could be Daniel Rodriguez's redemption, right? This could be his second chance to maybe start training again with the first team, get some minutes. And who knows? Maybe he does convince Flick. Street Fighter says, El pesebre puede cuidar las lesiones. What's pesebre? I'm going to have to Google this. I hate this. I hate Apple. Apple products suck, okay? And you cannot convince me otherwise. The manager. The manager can protect against injuries to a certain degree. But after all, if a player gets injured, a player gets injured, right? There's so much a manager can do. There's so many the coaches can do. There's so much the nutritionists can do. Obviously, they all work really hard to try to avoid injuries as much as possible. And obviously, the better the job they do, the more a player can avoid injuries, but not completely. That's impossible. We all get injured, right? We all get injured. And sometimes in the dumbest way, right? Sometimes you just go to get up, you're like, shit, I pulled the muscle. It just happens. There's no way to avoid it. The human body, it gets injured, And especially when you're an athlete playing at that level, at that high intensity, the running that they do, the acceleration, the change of directions. I mean, that takes a toll on your bones, on your ligaments, on your muscles. It's just, there's no way to fully prevent it. The only way to do that is if we replace players with robots. And even then, robots still need maintenance, right? And you still need to maintenance, and sometimes a part might break. So even robots break, right? Your car breaks down, right? So if a machine made out of metal breaks down, imagine a human body that's so fragile. There's no way around it. There's no way around it. Valerian says, hi, Mo, do you think will Tony Fernandez get some minutes now? Maybe. But Tony plays on the right mostly as a right winger. And we do have Lamine and Rooney there. So can he get minutes? Sure. but I don't think he's going to get, yeah, unless, of course, in practice he shows that he has more potential than Rooney, then maybe. But I think this is more of a chance for Rooney and for Dro than Tony. Bear the DJ says, I beg to differ when it comes to De Jong versus Casado. It's not close. FDA is way better than Casado. Respect to Casado, though. Two different profiles. That's the thing. They're completely two different profiles. That each one gives you something different. So I don't think you can compare. This is like saying, this is like trying to compare maybe, I was going to say Raphinha and Lamine, but obviously you can't compare them because Lamine is the best player in the world. But you see what I get, right? Lamine gives you something different. Dribbling, versus Raphinha gives you more speed. Two different players. So I wouldn't say FDJ is way better. I mean, is he more talented, more skilled? Sure, but the two of them give you two different profiles. Dake says, hi Mo, nice work. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Eddie says, do you think Tech will perform better than last year, given he already has some experience with us? To a certain degree, but not much, because the whole you can't teach an old dog new tricks. It kind of is true, right? To a certain degree, in everything we do in life. At a certain point, once you reach a certain age, there's not much more you can learn. You can still learn, you can still improve, but your margin's a lot. When you're Lamine Yamal and you're 18 years old, right? Your ceiling is like, super, super high, right? There's plenty of room and margin to improve and grow. When you're Tech, you're 32, how old is he? 34. Can you improve? Sure. But you got to go maybe from here to here, right? So can he improve? Yeah. But is it going to be like huge? No. Tech is a player, who's a goalkeeper who has already learned everything that he can learn. He has improved as much as he can improve, and he's set in the way he plays. He's set in his ways. So can he improve? Yes. But I wouldn't expect a huge jump. He's not going to be Joan Garcia all of a sudden. So, yeah. Lucky Bastard says, Eddie Garcia can be left winger. Yes, no. Eddie Garcia plays more of a left back than left winger. I wouldn't play him as a left winger. Can he attack? Sure. But, this is like playing Koundé as a right winger. Would I play Koundé as a right winger? No. He's more of a right back. Valerian says, Eddie Garcia can play at the left wing. At this point, you could play Eddie Garcia anywhere. But yeah, no, I wouldn't play him as a winger now. Anyways, that is all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching the podcast, for your comments, for your likes, your subscriptions. If you haven't hit the like button yet, make sure you do. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. And if you want to share any thoughts with me, any opinions about what we talked about, drop a comment down below. I will see you guys in the news video, because I am posting another news video later tonight. So we'll see you guys there. And as always, Bis Garça.